What's going on, guys? Now, I hope you all enjoyed yesterday's video, but let's get back into the Entitled Parents stories. It's your fault that I threw my not able to swim child in a 26-foot deep pool when no one was looking. Backstory: I used to be a swimming teacher, got the job very young by accident because I've always been the sporty type. Next to my house, there is a very famous Olympic pool in which they teach swimming and train Olympic swimmers from a very young age. So I went there with no expectations at all, and the next thing I knew, I was working at 15. Needless to say, I was the youngest there, and if it wasn't for the shirt that literally said that I was a trainer, no one would have ever noticed me there. My job there was to take care of and teach babies how to swim. From age 3 to 5, about 20 kids per class, from Thursday to Friday from 2 p.m. to 6. So the kids and the parents knew who I was when the class was over and the rules about the pool, which included two very important things that I reminded the kids every single day. 1. Do not go near the pool if your teacher isn't around, and 2. Do not go into the pool if you don't have a floppy. I don't really know what they're called, we just called it that way for years for some reason, but it was those pool noodles that were old enough to be bent and we tied them around the children's chests, so it basically worked as a lifesaver. Also, you need to know that we have 3 pools, each one deeper than the others. My class took place in the medium deep one, and the kids weren't allowed in the other pool that wasn't the other one where they had their class. The parents also knew this. Moving on to the story. As a baby's teacher, or actually any kid below 12 years old teacher, we weren't allowed to leave the kids alone or send them away if their parents weren't there. This resulted in us waiting an extra 15 to 20 minutes for parents after our shift was done, which wasn't really that bad, and when we had to wait more than that, the parents had already called and we just changed our clothes, the kids' clothes, and waited with the kid outside. But in this story, this was not the case. I still had a 4-year-old boy under my care. It was 40 minutes past my shift. We were both wet, cold, and tired because we couldn't sit anywhere. I ended up wrapping the boy in a towel another parent gave me because the kid was trembling so much, and I actually held the boy in my arms when he couldn't bear it anymore. I swear that kid was about to faint from the cold, and I was already mentally preparing my first aid skills and a no-shame barrier to run to the nearest hospital in my swimsuit. 50 minutes, an hour, it was getting darker and the cold air began to strike us. Finally, the mother appears. She doesn't even look at her child, doesn't even look at me. She says, "Let's go," and starts to walk away as I'm holding her barely alive son in my arms, not even looking back to see if he's following. I had to take the other towel away since it wasn't his, and I clearly didn't trust his mother. I planned to return it myself the next day, put the kid down, say goodbye, watch him walk a few steps, and turn around to rush to the lockers because now I was freezing cold. I was furious, but couldn't do or say anything. I guess the mother had told my bosses that maybe she had an emergency of some sort and was still sorting it through the phone. I got to the locker, fully changed into clothes that weren't pool-like, went from swimsuit and Crocs to jeans, hoodie, socks, and Converse, chilled in the locker room for another 20 minutes, browsing WhatsApp groups, packed my stuff in my backpack, and walked outside, closing it behind me since I was obviously the last one. At this point, it was around 7:20 p.m. There was barely sunlight, and it was time for Olympic swimmers to train, and they really don't care for anything that's happening around them. So I just start walking my way out of the pool area, ignoring almost everything around me. I heard screams. It's hard to notice them at first because there's so much noise around between the water, the chit-chats, and the trainers screaming, but the screams got louder. And as I'm awkwardly passing by the deepest pool there is, I noticed the same mother from before kneeling in front of the water, holding her cell phone with one hand and just kind of flopping her other hand into the water. I follow her gaze and immediately drop my backpack and dive into the pool, where her kid is almost 10 feet down in the water. This boy didn't drown because of me. People were screaming because they noticed this from the seats area. Someone had to rush to my boss's office and they had called the pool paramedic. Other people were still trying to get someone's attention so they could help. And my 3 bosses, one of my co-workers, another trainer, and the paramedic showed up at the exact moment I'm getting this boy out of the pool and starting CPR to get the water out of his lungs. The mother just awkwardly stands there, lurks at the back of everything in silence and, well, stands there. The kid is okay. They are wrapping him in towels and and telling him everything's okay. People are still wondering what happened and asking around. I take a moment to process everything and I notice the mum in the back staring at her phone. Okay, so despite her kid nearly dying, literally drowning to death, she's on her phone. What is this woman doing? I snap. Cue the drama. The dialogue wasn't exactly like this since this happened about 3 years ago, but I still remember some of it. So I'm totally drenched in water and I'm a totally angry teenager, and EM is of course the entitled mother. What the frick? Why was your not able to swim son in the deepest pool we have unsupervised? He was not unsupervised. I was watching him. He almost drowned. Yeah, well, that's not my fault. I paid the school to teach him how to swim, and I just wanted to record him swimming to show his daddy. He does it very well. Do you want to see? Yeah, it's not as if I've just been teaching him for the last hour or so. She then shows me her phone with an actual recording of her telling her son to go into the water to show daddy how you look like a fish in the water. The boy is repeating the exact words I told them every day about not going into the water without a floppy or a teacher nearby. The entitled mother telling him it's okay because she's there, the boy saying he's scared, and then the mother literally pushing this kid. The mother records him struggling for a while, awing at how he was able to hardly float around for some minutes, and when he gets tired of moving his little arm and legs around to keep his head out of the water and trying to get to the edge, his mother pushes him away from the edge and he immediately sinks. And the video still lasts about 20 more seconds where the mother is just filming the kid sinking, and she's just saying stuff like, "Look at me, daddy, just like a little shark." Okay, so now this story has got even worse. It's bad enough that she pushed her child into the 26-foot deep end, but now she's stopping him from getting out and causing him to drown. What sort of mother is this? I noticed he wasn't coming up, so I tried to grab his hand, but he was way down. Thank God you appeared at the right time. I'm just in dead silence. I should probably start swimming classes too, since I do not know how to swim. Do you know a good school? I give her the death stare. At this point, I'm done with this woman. Do you even care about your son? This is the second time he's almost died under your supervision when you showed up an hour late after class was over. And you didn't even apologize to me or explain why you were late. I would really appreciate it if his dad came for him after class, because I swear I will never let this child go home with you. I pause to breathe and I realize something. Why did you even push him in the water? He's 4. You know he doesn't swim nor float, or at least you'd know that if you had a minimum interest in his life. What the F? What the F? What do you mean? You are way too young to talk to me that way, you little brat. My son is my problem and not yours. I don't owe you anything. You don't have the right or the power to prevent me from doing whatever I want with my son, and I couldn't jump in because I'd get my clothes wet. And I have to drive home. Also, I had my cell phone in my hands. I literally can't believe what I'm reading. At this point, I'm visibly soaked in water from head to toes in the clothes I'm supposed to walk home with. I mutter an F you and walk away. I don't know what happened next to the entitled mother. I approached the kid again to say goodbye and to check if he was alright. Grabbed my backpack, my boss jumped in to take care of the situation, and I started my 15-minute long walk back to my house. Although by the time I got home, I'm sure most of the water had evaporated from the way I was fuming. My boss filled me in the next day and said the mother was actually at the seat area by the time class was over, and she got distracted with her phone the whole hour it took her to notice class was over, and that she had to pick up the kid. Really, she was there the entire time. She had complained that I had screamed at her, and after finding out I was the actual swimming teacher, she demanded I got fired. I was not. I actually got a raise. Well deserved. She threatened to sue the school because they had babies taking care of babies. And when confronted with the rule book about her breaking the rules and that she would be in trouble, I'm not sure how law applies to that in my country, for being in the pool area out of hours and nearly drowning her son, she immediately erased the video, said we had no proof, screamed some more at my boss, and walked away dragging her son with her. The kid never showed up to class again. Years later, and I'm still salty about this whole situation. My co-workers told me that there was more to the story, but my bosses refused to say anything about what happened next with the mother. I did get a warning for how I talk to parents, but it was kinda like just don't scream what the F at them. And I wasn't in any real problem since I didn't have my uniform on, so in the eyes of witnesses, I was just a kid swearing at an entitled woman. Well, I just feel like I need to take a breath after that story. What have I just read? Okay, let's get one thing straight. That kid is a hero, but this parent should not have custody of her child anymore for what she did. She genuinely said that her cell phone was more important than her kid's life. And the stuff about her shoving her kid in the pool and not letting him out when he was drowning, that is just another level of crazy to me. Like, child neglect is one thing, but when it turns into child abuse, that's just too much for me. You know, I just hate that sort of stuff. She needs to be put away for a long, long time. All I hope is that her son somehow got the lessons he deserves and can now swim well in case this ever happens again, which it might, you know, if he's still with the mom, it might well happen again. Anyway, that is the end of this story. I hope you enjoyed it, and I really hope this mum gets locked up. Now, if you haven't seen yesterday's video, it is slightly different. Please go and check it out and leave a comment on what you think. I put a lot of effort into it, and I hope it comes across. I really enjoyed making it, so yeah, go and check it out. With that being said, I will see you all tomorrow, as always, with some more Reddit content.